Can you hear me? Perfect. So I'm Jakub. I think it would be useful to share with all of you and broader community how to actually not build a parachain. So you can learn you can learn from all of our mistakes, which we did so far. And we hope that it will contribute to better products, better parachains in our lovely ecosystem, and further success of .Comm2022. So let's start. Who we are? So I'm Jakub. Who don't know me, I started Z-Prime Capital. We were from the beginning pretty committed to supporting Polkadot ecosystem, but as we weren't like your usual investors, and we weren't fund, but actual investment company, we were much more on the builder side. We were always very hands-on to the builders. And when I was doing research for DeFi products back then in late 2018, 2019, I was curious if someone is building actually cross-chain Uniswap. And then when I was playing with things like Lightning Network and other DeFi protocols, back then there weren't many actually in that time, I was curious why is no one making it actually much more capital efficient? Because otherwise people from TradFi and other industries will be laughing at us why we are using such clunky products and not very capital efficient, because capital efficiency is a holy grail of every financial product. And quick disclosure, this presentation isn't meant to be to kick to anyone. It's just really about honest feedbacks, because honest feedback is always much more useful than gossiping and doing some politics in the background. So there would be some examples what went wrong even in other ecosystems and in other projects, and how we learn from it actually. So this will be today's topics, our mistakes, and how all of us could do it much better. Then how to handle parachain lifecycle. These are recommendations to other fellow builders. Something about product development, because parachains and every crypto project should boil down to making users happy, so providing them best UX possible and best product possible. Community building and marketing is something that is often handled not in very good way, and how we can all of us build better ecosystem. So our original scenes are pretty funny. That basically very wrong prioritizations of things led us to a lot of delays and acting very reactionary instead of being proactive, which leads to to actually worse planning and worse resource allocation. As we were actually building in the ecosystem for such time, actually from the summer of 2019, when we were seeing that things like parachains are finally going live with Rococo, which was first parachains testnet, with first versions of XCM, actually it was version 0. And we were trying after Akala and Plasm as a third team, first cross-chain transfers on Rococo. We were super excited, oh, this is it. After so many years, all the stack, or most of the stack, is coming, and we want to be really there as soon as possible. So we got big FOMO. We were rushing, not as prepared as we wished, but it was really honest intention. Also, it's much easier to be very flexible and fast with very small team, because most of the most of the time actually, or until fall of 2021, we were actually just 6 or 7 team, while we were building Basilisk and Hydra, and we were often one of the first teams trying new stuff and trying to providing also feedback to Parity and just see how is it going and how to work with these super complex and extremely expected concepts like parachains and XCM. So that's lead to bizarre situation where we underestimate such obvious thing as a front end. But why? Again, because we were developing OmniPool, which was in that time like unique model for AMMs with some security concerns. It isn't ideal for all kind of trading and all kind of swapping, but you need to be like really cautious what kind of assets are getting to the pool, because then it can happen something like 2-3 months ago with fall of Terra and UST, which was actually causing a lot of losses for liquidity providers on Curve and other AMMs, because these assets drop actually like too quick. And yeah, and that was a lot of these things, a lot of these lessons we were trying to always learn from others. So we were always like geeking out too much and nerding out too much about quality of backend and quality of our Rust code and quality of palettes and quality of mechanism design. And if there are such flaws which could lead actually to economic exploits, because with emergence of DeFi, the losses which can happen to you and the exploits aren't just about like poor quality of code or like bad integrations, but these like very complex financial structures or products can lead to like unexpected behavior. So you need to really, before you launch any like DeFi product, you need to be like super sure that you understand how it's work in every condition, and you actually also need to turn to actually like hacker trying to break the system and come up with the most adversarial set of strategies how to break the system. And we were focusing extremely on this, and with all the noise and all the crazy times within the past bull market, it happens what happened. And also one of our flaw, actually, which was also Anna's intention, that we were like trying to be like radically open like too soon. So we were open sourcing almost everything from the day one. We were trying to teach newcomers how to develop in Rust, actually, how to develop on Substrate, how to do DeFi, etc., while not taking so much time on our actual product. Yeah. So the original scene started on the Kusama, where we went for the first time live. That was actually hackathon for Kusama ecosystem, where we went for the first time live. So we showed there our enhanced XYK. In that time, it was like first implementation of something what you can see on CoSwap or GravityDX on top of Cosmos or Osmosis, which we were calling order matching or order batching, which has like very nice property that it's causing zero slippage for the users if two transactions going in the opposite direction can be matched together. And why this was like original scene? The original scene is because Jakub, my super talented CTO, he actually spin up the whole chain with like a very ugly and and lame front end, but still like working in just like 1 week with the help of 3 other guys. So when we were thinking about like product, it was like, oh, so okay, so you did this in like 1 week. So with 1 proper designer and 2 like solid or great front end developers, like we can do that in like in month or 2 months. And yeah, that bite us in the ass like many times when we were trying to release Basilisk all the time from basically last year until now. And so I would like to share some of my findings about product development and how all of you can do it much better. Obviously, we are trying also like these months try to do much better than before. So one like crucial thing with like founding any project, and I don't mean actually crypto projects, but company or like anything non-profit, that doesn't really matter. If you are starting something, no one is thinking about the project and about the use case as much as you. So as a founder, you are probably even like dreaming about the project. When you are waking up, you immediately start to think about the project. And then when you are eating, you are also thinking about the project. So it's super hard to catch up with the time spent by founders thinking about stuff and how they should work. Something similar is probably with Gav and Robert, because also like no one was thinking about things like Polkadot ecosystem or like shared security and interoperability as much as them from 2016 until now. So like many other ecosystems, they're just like trying to catch up, or they're just like reinventing the wheel and like getting a lot of attention, while things like erasure coding and data availability and all these like fancy new buzzwords, it's working at least for a year on Kusama and now also on the Polkadot. So it's really hard to catch up with the time and the like knowledge transfer and vision transfer to not just to the rest of your team, but the rest of the community, and that enabling to find new community leaders or like new leaders of the project within the community is like super hard, because leaders aren't growing on the trees, and also no one is seeing to your head. So the documentation is really everything. And I remember from my like investment past, when I was throwing new fancy projects on my developer friends, like check this blockchain, check this, and actually what I found interesting is that they were assessing the quality of project, not about like TPS or virtual machine they are using, or like language in which is written, like language partially, but the number one reason to assess the quality of project is actually like state of documentation. Is it really like documented everything? Is like documentation up to date? So that was another our flaw, that when we were building a lot of our features on the Basilisk, basically in like a few days or a few weeks, it was all the time rush, because we were like playing with things and like trying to innovate as much as we can, but execution or proper execution is a million times more important than like ideation or ideas. Even if you have like good idea or great idea, even if it's like implemented and deployed, like any product with 0 users is like basically useless. And then we as a crypto industry, we often are avoiding very hard but good and old boring rational questions like, what's the sustainability of the project? That's the tragedy of many governance tokens. There is really no way how these projects can gain any value from the ecosystem, but in not extractable way, because then also like slapping just fee on some token or some ecosystem is leading to obvious thing to try to get rid of these extractive fees. And then like, who will be using it? Not sure if you spotted a trend of the last year that like there was like probably funded, I don't know, tens or maybe even like hundreds of tooling for the DAOs, but the real DAOs which are like working and needs this tooling, they are like, I don't know, maybe max 10 or 20. So there, we have in like very bizarre situation that we have much more tooling for DAOs than actual DAOs which need it. And also, is the timing right? Because timing is often most important factor of success of any project and any company. The same like they were like bunch of there was like dozens of social networks before Facebook, and dozens of search engines before Google. But the timing is right, and that's, for example, our reason why we, for example, currently scratch the LBP palette and LBP functionality, while we also like put in a lot of effort to make it better than the Solidity implementations, which you can see on it. But yeah, the timing is basically not right for it. So, and also what is like super dangerous for any founders or any project is like printing or like get in love in every new idea, and basically you need to be like super cautious that not every idea is actually what you think is like totally awesome and people will love it. Sometimes you can be like more far from the truth, and don't forget that your project is basically not isolated in the space or in the sea of crypto. Basically, we have so many third-party integrations and dependencies, especially in the Polkadot ecosystem, that you shouldn't expect as us that everything would be working super smoothly on the first time, especially when a whole stack is quite experimental and pretty fresh new. So, as I mentioned before, our like desire to be like radically decentralized from the beginning as soon as possible leads us to wasting a lot of our internal resources and wasting a lot of time, while the intention was extremely honest. But I was trying to find out what we were doing bad. Also, when the company or the product delivery wasn't like very successful or very sufficient. So I was digging to the few working DAOs, and that's basically what I found out, that unclear development transparency and priorities is like it's decreasing your ability to plan properly. Also, usually like lack of follow-up steps for any or smaller, bigger milestones is like reasoning for, and any like supporting reasoning for the like proposed solutions, like why we need to change direction, why we need to pivot, why we need to introduce this, or why we need to scratch this, is like extremely confusing for developers, and then it's extremely confusing for the community, and it can like erode all your all the positive sentiment which you got so far. And as I mentioned before, the different understanding of vision and project priorities and needs is like one of the biggest problem, not just in the crypto, but like in like any project or any company in general to solve. I found a great tweet from Arthur from the Defiance Capital, which like wrap it much better. That information asymmetry is like extremely hard to solve, and like we can think that DAOs will magically solve this. And obviously, another thing we just often forgotten, that usually there is like no accountability between founders or within DAOs, especially when these DAOs are operating after founder left or abandoned the project, and DAO is like completely leaderless. So this was my favorite meme actually from the 2017 and 2018, because I saw probably all the ideas, all white papers, all possible ideas about how to use blockchain with AI and like supply chains and medical data and privacy. Like there was I think like there was really like white papers for everything already, and people are often asking me, especially like last month and last weeks, like, Jakub, what is like next exciting project for you? And I was like, dude, I don't know. Like we saw really from the time we are in crypto probably everything, but there is like lack of projects which are executing like very well. And also you need to understand that the infrastructure who should support all these crazy innovative ideas and use cases like Polkadot, Cosmos, Solana, Near, and all other stuff, that was funded and started in 2016, and it's everything just coming to life. So it didn't even like have time to solidify and settle, and to enable creation of new use cases on top of it. So sorry, this slide is in the wrong order, but yeah, you can see. I will fix that after the presentation. So as I mentioned, when we were heading to actual release all the time, This was, for example, from the beginning of June. Like we thought, like, oh, we are like pretty close to release. We were thinking how we can harden our system and how we can test it more properly, and we started to work. We started to work on the monitoring tools based placed on our infrastructure, and then maybe in the future even wrap to the runtime that it will measure suspicious activity, because the most common behavior of any hacker or exploiter is that exploit the system and run away with as many funds as possible at once. And as we were started to work on it, Cosmos actually was a Cosmos-based project. Osmosis was exploited by bad refactor of withdrawing LP shares from the AMM. And what was bizarre is that when we were putting together a list of all possible exploits in the DeFi which happened so far, we find out that we had the same bug in the XYK of Basilisk, and even more bizarre is that piece of code was oldest one. The most people review it. It was reviewed by many third parties. It was even audited, and it was still sitting there. So it really shocked us, but then we obviously turned it to something positive. So we, Colin and our new colleague Daniel, they put together a great testing framework which can test if your invariance, which needs to hold, for example, most famous invariant in DeFi or AMMs is x, xy equals k, if it's holding or not, and if the actual code implementation is following the specification, and if it's working properly. So as I mentioned, these slides or this presentation is not about kicking others, but how we can learn from mistake of others and ourselves to build better and more robust systems. And also, obviously, you can test as hard as you can, and you can do as much as you can, but still, there could be things out of your reach which can go wrong. So, why I want to cover community and marketing, because what I realized is it's super common in crypto development and crypto products lifecycle, is that founders are extremely hyped about about what they can introduce and how they can change the world, or how they can change at least the industry, and that's leading to a lot of consequences. But let's start with easier one. At first, a lot of parachain teams, after our success with LBP and crowd loans, they were their CMOs were calling me and asking me hey Jakub, which marketing company did you use? Great job, great numbers. And I was nothing, no, it was just us. And he was still insisting no, but which company, which influencer? And dude, the blogs, we just write 3 nice blogs. And I was sitting in the communities in the Telegram channel and trying to answer on everything in unique way, and spend as much time as I can with people within the community, and also answering on all possible DMs, which is unfortunately not the case anymore. But we were really just trying to be us. So we were not pretending that we are some guys in suits going to crash all the banks, but we were really just us. Also, what we saw in some past project in the ecosystem using paid shield, influencers, even bots, it's super obvious, guys, don't do it. And what makes sense to you, back to the product, what makes sense to you might be actually extremely confusing to community, which happened to us during New Year, where we announced major change in our tokenomics and introducing second pool token from the security reasons, which you can see on the curve, by bribing their governance, while they're obviously open to the bribing. But we also saw a similar issue currently in Bancor. So we saw that like last year, we had a lot of internal discussions like why we need to change it. So it like totally made sense for us. But when we published the blog, there was like a huge community pushback, and people spreading FAT. Actually, they use it for sharing like propaganda about us that we are going to rug pull community, and why we are doing it during like the holidays where not many people are paying attention. And I need to stand up with Colin, our head of research, and do like very proper AMA to answer everything. But what really like surprised us that maybe in the first time in the history of internet, people who were spreading FAT and who were like very aggressive towards us initially, they were like excusing themselves for such behavior. And then we also realized that maybe like all communication needs to be done like completely different. So that's all. The whole your product cycle, but also communication should be something what is called expectation management, because the excitement what you can feel can like totally blind you. You should always expect unknown unknowns, which will slow you dramatically down, and then don't overpromise. Like be with 3 weeks, it became the meme, but also like when we say that first time, we really thought it. And then we were like unwrapping all the unknown unknowns, as I mentioned, which were like waiting for us. So, oh, sorry. So then when we were, how can I launch it? Then when we were like answering, then when we were trying to explain people, sorry, can you make it louder? So then when we were like explaining the community, like where we are right now and like what all roadblocks we are hitting, it was like very unpleasant, and it was like, again, eroding the sentiment for the project. Sorry, is it possible to launch it or not? Anyway, guys, I will share the presentation with you, and like you can listen it at your home. Anyway, sorry about it. So development takes time. This is from the great blog from godfather of DeFi, Andre Cronje, when he was like really pissed about like state of everything, and he has basically like burnout. So this is so common to whole crypto. This is another quick cut from AMA with Vitalik and Omisgo. Omisgo was like one of the most promising projects for scaling Ethereum and crypto back then in 2018. And in this video, which I'm not sure if it will be working again properly, actually Vitalik in 2018, he was promising there, but I believe that honestly, his wording or communication was completely honest. He was so exciting about potential of Omisgo and their solution that he was mentioning on this video that Ethereum with sharding and Omisgo, which will come soon, actually never come, will scale to millions of transactions, even like billions. He was really saying that. And I actually, a few days ago, I met a guy who was close to the Omisgo team or part of the team, and we were talking about this session, and he told me it's also there like when Vitalik was exciting and like explaining how Ethereum will be scaling to tens of millions transactions per second, the poor developers, they were like sweating a lot and like super nervous. Okay, even without sound, then you will see at the end of the video that they are they are not very sure about the promises. So. Yeah, sure. You see that guy who was like biting to his lips, but yeah, it's happening to all of us and founders that we all the time we mean it. Obviously, except of scammers, we mean it like seriously because we are so exciting to bring the products to you. But then just like the harsh reality of technology and how early we are is like pretty strong slaps to our faces. So yeah, and it went so far that actually like Andre had burnout 2 times and rage quit. And like last time when he rage quit, he didn't even like spare any time for writing part 3, because actually when I was reading it, he's pretty repeating himself anyway. So building might be quite disappointing, not just to the community, but as you. And sometimes the channels can lose like this. So for ending this presentation, what we believe that we can learn from mistake, not just from ourselves, but everyone, and how we see or how we perceive even like other DeFi projects within the Dosama. We don't see any one of you as a competition, but in like good manner, because people like market makers and people who wants to do ARBs in the Dosama ecosystem and flashbot searchers, etc. They are excited about like Hydra and Basilisk. They are excited about other projects. They are excited about XCM and shared security. They want to use it, but they are asking me all the time, like, Jakub, like, what's the state? And like, when there will be like hundreds of millions TVL at least, or even billions, because like our size is size, and we need to. It needs to make sense for us. So I would be most happy if any other DeFi parachains in Dosama or DeFi protocols on top of things like Moonbeam and Moonriver and A-Star will have hundreds of millions TVL, even like billions, because the real competition is outside of the Dosama, and even outside of the Dosama, from the folks like Solana and Cosmos, you should not forget that like a real final boss isn't actually any crypto project. So please don't be extractive, help others. Feel free to reach out to us for any help. Like for example, Colin, recently he found some bug in the fellow DeFi project, and yeah, they are happy. We are happy that we could help them, and we are here to help to all of you. Same as when we are working with someone, we often like finding some bugs, or we are helping with integrations. Also on the other side, other teams found bugs in our implementations. So it's usually like very pleasant. We just need to be like open to everybody. And please don't do politics because it's cheap. It's really like we can do much better than guys in institutions and politics. And please open source as much as we can. I know that fear of the competition is hard, but it's really helping to find potential exploits much sooner than it can happen. And my last point is that you please don't hesitate. What we saw so far is the many projects aren't asking as much as you can right people, or they are not participating in like great projects or programs like Substrate Builders program, where there is like dozens of Parity engineers, super knowledgeable about tech, can save a lot of your time, or researchers in the Web3 Foundation. Please ask them as much as we can. That's what we were doing most of the time, and mostly think about how you can leverage shared security and treasury, because shared security enabling us to be much more capital efficient than any other ecosystems, so we don't need to inflate and print. Money printers go brr, or token printers doesn't need to go as brr as is sometimes the case. So thanks for your attention.